Hey, check this out. We're we're late this week to the show. We had such a jam-packed week last week. We did a lot of videos, coffee in hand, but we cranked out a lot of videos. In fact, Keith said we need to get some sleep. But yeah, we had some ideas that was going around, so we had to make it happen because we had the Halloween video, which I always like to do that. Any type of sometimes we got some holiday type events, and sometimes people don't want to. I always think about it like there's got to be people that want to break away from the crowd, or maybe don't want to have anything to do with it. So we hang out. They watch videos. Hopefully they tune into the network, and it gives a video out there something to do, some other thing to hang out with somebody else. Maybe they'd rather hang out here at the channel. So that's always cool. So I always thought about that. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, or whatever. On those kind of days, I always think about having a video like that. So anyway, that's kind of what. And of course, the 1911 video was just kind of neat to do. I always like, anytime you can always have a video about 1911s. I always think it's a great one. Even though if sometimes maybe you're not into 1911s, I do find that the people that are, or like, if you really like them, you always have like multiple ones, or at least even people that maybe they're not as wild about them. You at least have one. So anyway, or maybe it's nice to just kind of tune in and check out what other people are saying about them and just say, hey, maybe I'll check one out. So anyway, here we go. Let's do some comment reading. This one here is from Slimfire. Slimfire says, morning JW with coffee in hand. Listening to my favorite talk show host. I appreciate that, man. And I also like the 45 Colt revolver, and I have an 1873 Uberti blued with a 7.5-inch barrel. Oh, the Calvary model. That well-made. JW, you have an amazing collection of home movies. Thanks, Slim. Yeah. Talking about my Halloween video, I did do that in front of my library of horror flicks. I am a huge horror fanatic. In fact, I just picked up this poster here that I put in the background. You can't see the entire poster of it, but you can at least see the title, Roddy Piper, They Live, directed by John Carpenter. That's a really awesome movie. That is if you have not seen They Live, it's even if you're not truly into horror flicks, it's kind of one of those that takes you on a trip, man. It really does. So, all right, DB, top of the morning, and top of the morning to you, DB. We have Squib 1911. Always good to have him on the channel. He also has a really awesome channel himself. I believe he has two. Really cool guy. Another one of them that, yeah, it's really cool because you don't know what he's going to have on there. Posts all kinds of stuff, so that's really awesome. A lot of which I think one of the cool things it does is the stovetop videos. Cool idea, man. That's a great one. Don't ever discontinue doing those. That's great. Coffee in hand this morning in an Arizona Ghost Riders coffee mug, listening to the show while scheduling upcoming videos for my other channels. Late night, I finally watched The Evil Dead. Not into horror movies, but my wife is, so she liked having me on the couch with her watching it. I guess there's a sequel. I'm going to watch that with her tonight, allegedly. Are you talking about the original? Hopefully you're talking about the original series. They did do a TV show, but the original one from I think it's 81 or something. The original two, Evil Dead 1 and 2 that are done in the cabin, those are hard to beat. Those are really hard to beat. Those are just... and I met Bruce Campbell, really cool guy. He really is a down-to-earth dude, telling jokes and everything like that. I met him at a book signing. Winchester Model 37A 20 gauge in the Evil Dead might make the list of things to look for in the future. Yeah, okay. So you probably are talking about the original because they go down in the cellar to find that. You pronounced Provost Marshal's office correctly. I probably mispronounced it right now. PMO on our base had the old 1911s in the squadrons got issued M9s. They carried them in a leather M7 holster with leather belts. We carried our sidearms in M12 holsters with our green nylon cartridge belts. You'd think I'd rather have the newest stuff, but I really wanted to carry a 1911 when I was in the service. And thank you for your service, by the way. I got a Ruger SR 1911 years later. Love it. It's my primary open and concealed carry weapon. I carry it when I go deer hunting. That's awesome. Yeah, it's a good place to definitely carry it. 1911 is a good gun, especially in the 45. It's definitely a power punch. Although I have something different on the table. Jeffrey Richardson, good morning, sip of coffee. Joe P, good morning, JW. I'm not a big 1911 fan, although I do own one. But I really love when you bring out the Cobra version. Yeah, that Cobra 1911. I tell you, if it wasn't for the movie, that thing would be out of the collection. I think that is one poorly made Colt. If I ever got a chance to go to their factory, I would bring that gun and throw it on their table and say, "Will you please explain to me how this rattly slide the frame slop job happened by shooting, a few hundred 9mm rounds through it?" Anyway, I love the movie and those grips so much that so that a couple years ago, on our way for a birthday dinner on the Queen Mary, we swung by Venice Beach and drove by Cobretti's apartment on Westminster. Didn't get any closer than the drive-by, but it was awesome. That's pretty cool to be able to still see these locations. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Here's one from Keith. Books, Neuromancer by William Gibson, early 80s tech runner. Excellent story about our world and what it has become. Great video. Thanks for posting. Let me go shut that AC off real quick because I forgot to shut that off, and I don't want the background noise coming in. Yeah, I can't believe we're even out here, we're still running the AC, not quite as often throughout the day. It doesn't kick on a lot, but we're definitely still running it. We're still in a little bit of a high. We're still right around the 80-degree mark out here in the desert. My mom, obviously, she's up in northern California, and she's complaining about the mid 70s, high 70s, degrees, and I'm like, I wish it would have dropped down to the 70s already out here. Maybe hopefully as we near towards the end of the month it will, but I always, to me, because I like the cold weather, I always felt like, man, that sucks, because then it just bounces right into December, January, February, and it's pretty much over. Because March is okay, and then by April the cold weather is pretty much diminishing, and then obviously May is a good weather, also a good fighter. But May, I always like the weather during that month. It's always it feels like a good month to do a lot of outdoor stuff, and just kind of bouncing around and doing some stuff right before the scorcher happens, where you just got June, July, August, and September, and then you just want to wake up when it ends. All right. So Warren, my buddy Warren over there, great people, and always love to hear from you guys. Hey, Batjack, sorry for responding after production. No, this time you did not, because we were late production this time. I enjoy watching your 1911 video. I too have friends older than me, and sometimes I feel like an old young body. Although sometimes I feel a young man in an old body. Have a great week and catch up again soon. I'm starting to feel just old. um, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. This one here is from TOT. To- Wicked Grip sells the best Cobra grips. They also have ruby red grip screws that has some grip texture. Check them out. So if you guys want any of the Cobretti grips, I guess Wicked Grip sells them. I have not looked into it. Again, it wasn't really. It just I'm happy with what I got. Again, if it wasn't for the movie, I'd chuck that thing. It'd be done. So it really just kind of have it just to have it for now. I still might get rid of it at some point. He also asked, does the slide to frame fit affect reliability? No, in practice, it probably improves reliability. But when it's like so bad that you just want to throw the thing away. um, but anyhow, all right. So there it is. I appreciate everybody that comments and jumps in there and does everything. We talked about the Cobra 1911, and the 3-inch revolver and all that, and then of course we had the Halloween special, and hopefully everybody checked out the Halloween uh, video we did. So also I brought out some other stuff. I was watching the War Wagon. I had come across a couple of scenes from it on YouTube. That's what's really cool about YouTube. It kind of gets you can see some of the really cool scenes you remember. Like I just watched the ending scene of Cahill U.S. Marshals when the Duke nails George Kennedy and all them guys. Man, George Kennedy really played a hell of a bad guy in that one. But anyhow, I was watching some clips from the War Wagon. And if you watch, like I was like looking at it going, man, you really take a look at the grips that he had on that night, single action of his. They're really a light yellow, like, like they're not like, I think later they became more yellowed, like later, like as he, like, but if you look at like, because it's hard to know. Now, this is another one I'm going to throw out there. Didn't he carry a yellow one in McClintock? I know he doesn't really use it. I don't think anybody gets shot in McClintock. McClintock's like a comedy. But didn't he have his yellow gripped single action in McClintock? I'm going to throw that out there. I thought he did. I haven't seen McClintock in years. It's not one of the ones that I watch all the time because I like to drag him out, knock him down, shoot him up, once. Not saying that McClintock is a junk one because I do enjoy Donovan's Reef. But I'm wondering if I thought he did. I thought he had the yellow handles in that one, or grips, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know. I'm not a stickler about proper nomenclature. But anyhow, I'm watching it and I'm like, if you look at the first couple of movies, War Wagon, Sons of Katie Elder, when he first showed out with that grips, they're not like terribly yellow, but they are a yellow. Now this, I don't know how well it shows up or how it's showing up on camera. But I ended up outfitting this 3840 with a little bit more of a, not as orangey, straight pumpkin looking ones, if you will. I don't know. But the one thing too, I don't know, the light's not going to really catch it. You got to see this in person. But I noticed that because you got to remember the originals that he had, aside from the shootist, were actually Catalan, a type of plastic. And I wanted the edges, like when the light catches it, the edges here, to be somewhat translucent because it's not what you think. They were not actually ivory as people thought they were, or as they were supposed to be. I've even ran into people, like I remember going to the it was like some kind of like event that was going on at Old Tucson Studios. These people were putting them on, and they were like really big on John Wayne stuff. And I remember I'd asked, and not just them, I had asked a bunch of people different in that kind of a realm of things about the John Wayne grips, the yellow grips. And I was always told, like, too, like, one guy was like, "Oh no, I highly guarantee you that they were real ivory," but yet there's so many articles written out that say they're not. And they're this thing called Catalan, which was developed by a guy named Maurice something rather. I forget his name exactly, but there's a write up on it. And in fact, you can go to River Junction, I think it is, that company, and buy actual Catalan grips that are left over. I think they're truly legit. I don't know how much they're going to cost you, but I'm sure they're not going to be cheap. There is those options. I have also mentioned options on vintagegrips.com where you can select different 1911 grips and get the color and select your colors that you want out of that. Um, you can also, if you want to, like on this one here, if you want to stain uh, your white, whatever type of ivory grips like this one here, these were white to start with. If you want to stain them up and make them look a little bit more on the yellow side, you can do that with leather dye, or in this case, I actually just shellacked these, and yeah, I used the amber colored shellac, and that kind of it added that to it. So yeah, a couple of these that I got here. My favorites is the Commander lightweight. Two of the lightweight Commander models here in 9 millimeter. You guys know I brought those out many times. The Springfield, my very first one, and the Colt. The newer of the two would be the Colt, the lightweight Commander. So some of the things I've been working on. That you guys know I've been doing the other projects around the house and everything. I've been doing the backyard deal, and I've been actually, so I had a fellow wall it up, and then I've been doing a bunch of he poured a concrete slab for the picnic table and the cooking area, and then I looked at it and I started thinking, well, because it's not cheap, and I'm not knocking the guy. The guy did a fantastic job. I'm not knocking his price, but it's basically my wallet cannot afford to keep buying that kind of services. So I looked into it and I figured out I could do it myself. Probably not as good, but good enough. Not like Three Stooges job, but better than that. So I was able to do it and knock out a little walkway area. So now I'm going to take on a lot much larger area, like an 8 foot by 8 foot, and try to knock that out myself and see how that goes. Purchase a wheelbarrow, and I'm going to get a pallet of concrete delivered and mix this stuff in a wheelbarrow. I know I could probably buy a cement mixer, but then in the end, I'm like, you know what? You still got to end up wielding the bags into the thing and doing all that. I don't know. I mean, I got a friend of mine that has one mixer. I might borrow it from him. I'm not sure. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll see how this mixing it in the wheelbarrow job goes. It could go good. It could go bad, right? But it's got to be better than the way I was doing it, which was mixing it in buckets, back and forth, doing the old chemistry test there. So that was definitely not the best, not the coolest way to do it. But I want to work on. If you guys remember, like I had a setup area, a table setup area where we were doing these shows, and then it kind of like it was in here, and then it went into there, and then went back to this location here. Um, and a lot of it has lighting and all that kind of stuff. And then obviously that back area was not always but as that back area is starting to improve, I also wanted to improve that room where that was filmed. Those are when we start changing over and doing some stuff over there. We had a bunch of cool stuff on the table. I do kind of want to, as we look forward to improving that area, doing some finished work on the interior, drywalling it and doing all that, getting it mudded up and probably making it look a lot better. Might be some areas there that I could actually do this filming a little bit easier. Definitely during the cooler times of the year, I could definitely do some out there and doing that will be kind of a really cool idea. So I look forward to seeing how that shakes out. Maybe you'll see it on camera. I'm not sure the time frame when we're going to do it because it's obviously it takes time to be able to do that. It would be nice if I had a couple of days off consecutively to do that. But currently, right now, I don't have that, and that's kind of also been kind of putting a dampener on things and a kind of a bummer lately in a lot of things. So that has brought onto the table of thinking about leaving the job I'm at now, mainly because of the split days off. Uh, it's not so much that I mean, it's not as bad as it sounds. A lot of people like, you really shy away from the split days. But for my, as where I'm at in my point now, because I've been there almost 3 years, where I'm at now is I had the split days of starting to feel like I'm strapped for time. Now I don't have time to do all this stuff that I'm trying to do and get done, and painting, and I still got a lot of the fixing up the trim and everything to my at least protect that place that I'm staying and living. Basically trying to protect it all and all that. So that's what's going on. It's starting to the split days off are starting to bleed into that not having the time. And there are other people there that have the 2 consecutive days off in a row, which like it's just kind of almost like not fair to the others that don't, and feeling like too like it sure seems like they always have like 3 to 4 days off, 3 or 4 day weekends constantly, more than I've ever seen in my entire I could say last 15 years of working, that I can count, that I've ever seen. And I've never seen that somebody have that much time off. So, that's a little bit, in the mix too. Um, and then it wouldn't bother me. Like, I don't really normally care that, okay, whatever, that person doesn't, they don't want to, I used to have a job where it's like, fine, they want to take the time off. They don't want their paycheck, but in this case, that doesn't, they're always, their times off are always bought and paid for. Um, but it makes it where the stress of the workload lands on somebody else, and that usually is this guy. And I'm feeling like I'm tired of doing all feeling like I'm actually doing a lot more work constantly for really the least paid person. So yeah, there's a lot of that. So I've been thinking, I did come from a hardware store job that I was doing that I left to go to this job, and I'm thinking maybe possibly going back to doing that because big plus, get the 2 days off. The other plus to that would be I'd be working at the source of all the materials I need to accomplish the things I need to accomplish around. So make it that much easier to do, that much easier to accomplish, and getting a discount on the stuff that I need. So, but anyway, a little bit of an insight, I guess, this week, on kind of me, what I'm doing, what I'm facing, and my decisions on things that are possibly going to come up, because I always like sharing the stuff, like, not just, materials and, this kind of fun things, and, different types of, you know, oils and things that we all use and share information on. But sometimes sharing information on me, what's going on with me, and what all that. So I don't know how many people actually care, but I'm sure they do. But I just thought maybe it might be a little bit interesting, a little bit different. So I'm gonna get out of here, and thanks for hanging out with me this Saturday.